episode of the Kickback. If you do enjoy what you're seeing, leave us a like, drop us a comment, and please do subscribe. We were given a target by Ben to hit 350 by the end of the year, and I don't think we're going to, but we can get as close to that target as we can.
You will now.
God, Lollujo's decreed that it happens as the king of FM drafting, which we'll get onto, I'm sure, a lot later on. But yeah, I've kind of already introduced the guest. He's at the top of the FM game. He's got a really, really good vlog channel as well. I don't need to do an introduction because you already know who he is. It's Lollujo, but we'll call him Kevin Chapman for this one. How you doing, Kev?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh yeah, I'm good, man.
Sorry for ruining the intro by just interrupting, but if Ben said 350, we're doing 400 because my thing that I do whenever I do anything like this, because for some reason everyone always has Ben on first. So my thing is I go on after him and then make sure I get more views on my episode than we're on his episode. So you can be damn sure if he set a target at a certain level, we're going to exceed that target now. So if you are here because I've told you to come and watch, make sure you subscribe because we need to prove a point that we're the ones that move the numbers.
Fair. Do you know what? I would have had you on a lot earlier. I was just trying to find a means of contacting without tweeting you for everyone to see.
I am awkward. I am awkward to contact. I don't have DMs on anywhere.
No.
My email, my public email goes through to my management. There is no way to contact me privately. Deliberately, because I'm still afraid from back when I was a teacher, just having people being able to contact me privately, big danger area. So it's just something I've always done. So yeah, I am a nightmare. People say it to me all the time. Usually the way they find me is through Ben or somebody else, and they get the connection that way.
Well, we managed it on Twitter, didn't we? Because it was Curty tweeting about his triple title with the Super League, the playoffs, and the wasted.
Yeah, I had to put him in his place for his nonsense. He was shouting about that, and one thing led to another, so it worked in the end.
To be honest, mate, I obviously I replied to the tweet. I can't remember what I said, but then you replied with, "No one's invited me." So then I was like, "Okay, switch account."
Well, that has been my thing for the last couple of years. I've said that to everyone where I've done anything like this. I have done every podcast I've ever been invited to. I've been involved in every collaboration or draft tournament thing I've ever been invited to, apart from the one you invited me to that I couldn't do. But that was very recent. Up until then, literally in 6 years of doing this, I've not said no to anything. I just never get asked.
Oh man, well I may or may not have DM'd a couple of the guys in the playoffs, like, just so you know, there is potential. So yeah, maybe expect something in your inbox. And as well, I mean, it happened yesterday, so I have to bring it up. I feel like this is a bit of a special episode as well, because we're both champions, mate. You obviously have won the Streamer Showdown 6 times, and I don't see anybody taking that anytime soon. I'm the most recent FM Playoffs champion as well, so
congratulations.
It's good to have kings in the seat.
That means they're the one that have the actual physical trophy, aren't they? You've got the one thing that I don't have.
The Super League have the trophy, but
Super League. Okay.
Basically the Super League Wasted Possession and the playoffs have a partnership where if you win one, you get an invite to the other two.
It's all very confusing. All very confusing.
Well, it's called synergy. That's how we're gonna label it. But I could win that. Maybe, I mean, when this goes out, I'm sure Danny behind the Super League will be trying his best to contact you. So
it's the one thing I constantly say to Ben. I want physical trophies, and he won't do it because he knows he's got to send me 6 straight off the bat.
He's like, nah, Ben, that. I remember. Oh, which one? I think there was the Winter Cup that Simaggio does, and he had a physical trophy. And then Stick Piano, who lives in America, won it, and he had to ship that off during COVID when I think shipping costs were extremely high. So as long as Zealand doesn't win it again, I'm sure Ben will.
There's very little chance of that happening. I don't think we need to worry about that.
We'll go into sort of. I mean, I've got the icebreaker label on, but I feel like the ice is broken. But I'll do it anyway just to keep it consistent. The question that I introduced it last episode of Sweet Left 4, and it's gonna be the regular one. You're high school, on the walk home from school. You've got a quid in your pocket. You nip into the shop. What snack or drink are you buying?
See, this is where I'm going to age myself because that would do me for a week. A quid. I remember when I was probably 8 or 9, being out in the park with my mum and my brother and finding a quid, just lying around as you do, find a quid. And I was able to go to Woolworths and buy a Count Duckula figure with my pound. So the idea of having an entire pound to spend, the amount of penny chews I can buy for that is phenomenal. But I think I'd probably, when I was a child, my favorite chocolate bar was a thing called a Maverick bar, which doesn't exist anymore. It was basically a toffee crisp with raisins in as well.
Yeah.
And they were absolutely amazing. I think they were about 30p in my school vending machine. So I'm now thinking, right, I can have one of them. I think a can of Coke was probably 25, 30p. And then I've probably still got enough for a bag of crisps and a packet of Polos as well. I am sorted for the day if I've got a pound when I'm a kid. So yeah, I'm absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think this might make you feel a bit older now as well. My mum's favourite chocolate bar was a Maverick as well back in the day.
She sounds very wise. This is 2 facts you've given me about your mum already. One before we started recording. I mentioned that she likes a cup of coffee before bed as well. And here I am in the evening drinking a coffee. Me and your mum would get on like a house on fire.
Yeah, to be honest, I might maybe we'll introduce at some point in the future, depending on how well this goes. Which I'm sure it'll be great, mate. It's already.
This is why I don't get invited onto stuff. I immediately start. Right. Oh, your mum. Come on then.
Look, man. I said caveat as much as you can, and I'll give it. Like I didn't expect to be talking about my mum, but it's all fair game, isn't it? But yeah, I guess I'll move on to sort of the opening topic. We always kind of go on to sort of football because that's what's sort of bringing us together, right? So I know you are a Peterborough United fan. I know you're not doing quite well because whenever Peterborough are playing, there's a guy who mods for me who will say, "Don't ask me about the football." So I guess we could avoid that if you want. But in terms of football in general, what is the first sort of memory you have of the actual game? And yeah, why was it special? What
first memory of football for me was Italia 90, I think. Okay. So again, aging myself massively, but I was 8 when Italia 90 was happening. Or I turned 8 during the tournament, probably between the semi-final and the third place playoff. I think I turned 8. And that was the first time I was ever really aware of football.
Yeah.
And then there's lots of other memories that kind of come off the back of it. So I distinctly remember Gaza crying, but it's one of those things where it could just be a false memory because you've seen it so many times since. I do remember him coming back on the plane and being in the newspaper with the fake boobies on. So I remember that. And then I started going to watch Posh that season. So I think my first match watching Posh was autumn time 1990 when we were in the old 4th division. And around about that time, I started to become more aware of football on the TV as well. So I think it was 91 when Gaza did his cruciate ligament in an FA Cup semi-final against Forest playing for Spurs. Yeah. And all these things kind of happened at the same time. And football just kind of exploded from nowhere when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Okay, so obviously you started obviously going and seeing the Posh. Was that just because family supported them, it was a local club, or was there
my dad's gone all his life and it was just the obvious next step. So it's one of those things where he hadn't been for a few years because me and my brother were young, so he used to go regularly all through like the 60s and 70s, and then I was born in 82 and he kind of stopped going at that point while we were young, and I think he was itching to get back. We'd had a ropey old time in the late 80s. We were a terrible team, but things were just kind of starting to turn around in the early 90s. And in actual fact, my first 2 seasons, I saw us get promoted back to back, and we actually went from the old 4th division to the new 1st division in 2 years. We got promoted 3 divisions in 2 seasons. So I only ever saw us be successful early on. So it was one of those things where I got into it at exactly the right time. Saw us be really successful, had lots of fun, got to go to Wembley. Our first ever trip to Wembley as a football club was actually my brother's first ever match, was going to see his local team play at Wembley, which is nuts, really. And it kind of got hooked from there. So by the time we got into what is now the Championship for the first time in the 92-93 season, even that started quite well. We finished 10th that year, and then it all started to go wrong, and it was misery from then on, really. We got relegated the year after. Before long, we were back down in the 4th tier, and I just kept going. I was hooked by that point, and I was a season ticket holder for probably 25 years, and it's only been in the last 5 or 6 years. Do these numbers add up right? Only that's 5 or 6 years that I've not had a full season ticket, just because it hasn't really fitted in with work stuff as I've got more and more into this content creator influencer life. More and more of the events that I have to do are at weekends. So like I'm away a lot of weekends. Like I've missed probably 4 or 5 posh home matches so far this season. So I have a half season ticket now where I think I pay for 10 games in advance. And I get along as often as I can, but I can't go every week anymore. But now I get the joy of being able to watch the away games on iFollow. So probably in the last year, I've watched more posh matches than I ever have before. So I've kind of been hooked since I was a kid, and there's no getting out of it now. I often wish, because my dad also follows Arsenal, and I do wonder how different things might have been if he'd have taken me along to watch Arsenal first rather than posh, because I would have seen Arsenal win the league in '91. I would have lived through the Arsene Wenger double, the Invincibles, and all that stuff. But no, I was too busy watching Posh struggle in the lower leagues, because that's the one that really hooked me in.
Nah, you drew the short straw on that one. What do you attribute the fall of Posh? Because I don't really know many people who support Peterborough. So it's not something I'm particularly like well up to date with in terms of what exactly spiraled. Like we had Simon Joe tell us about Portsmouth's downfall, and that was quite a roller coaster. What do you attribute that sort of failure to?
I mean, we're a very different case to Portsmouth, because Portsmouth are a big club who've fallen on hard times. Yeah. We're a 4th division team that are having a lovely run over the last 10 or 15 years. You know, we were trying to look for it on stream today. A few years ago, somebody did an all-time average league position thing. And I think all-time average league position, we're like lower mid-table in League One. We're not a big club. So this is only our 5th or 6th, I forget which it is, year ever in the second tier. So although this season's not been win after win after win, we're not in the relegation zone. And to me, if we avoid relegation this year, I think it's our 3rd best season ever in terms of league position finish. So we're at the peak. We're not suffering. This is as good as it's ever been for us. So I'm having a lovely old time. We got promoted last year. We might stay up this year. The fact that we're approaching December and I can still say we might stay up is very different from the last few times we've been in this league. So I'm enjoying myself.
No, it's quite a competitive league as well, the Championship. Obviously, you got Derby County, who are sort of...
Yeah, they're doing us all a favour. Hopefully, Reading are going the same way of a points deduction as well. We just need one more points deduction, and then we've got a real chance. I think apparently Derby are getting another deduction, which is going to be super. Really make sure they've got no chance of catching us. It was nice when Forest was struggling early on, but they've turned things around a little bit. But luckily, Hull are still rubbish. So we've got potential.
I mean, I wouldn't count Reading. They've just signed Andy Carroll, mate. So they're about to hit a whole new height. We do stand Andy Carroll over these ends, mate.
They're certainly about to hit a whole new level. I'll give you that.
Nah, fair enough. Well, I guess interesting optimism when it comes to a football club who's not performing well in the league by the league standards. I mean, it makes me feel a bit bad I'm a Manchester United fan. It makes me feel a bit bad complaining about our current circumstances.
It always makes me laugh hearing Manchester United fans complaining, because especially Manchester United fans of your kind of age, because all you've ever known is your club being like the biggest club in the world. And it's like, what on earth are you complaining about? You've had a hard time and you still signed Ronaldo. Shut up moaning. You know nothing. You know nothing about suffering at football.
I think I was in year 10 when Fergie left. So I've had a good few years. I remember more of the bad years than the good years, just because I was so young and I wasn't sort of...
See, I remember United being rubbish. I remember Fergie nearly getting sacked. I remember how excited they were to win the Cup Winners' Cup in 91? They were over the moon with the Cup Winners' Cup. I mean, it was... Who cares about the Cup Winners' Cup? They were delighted to win it because it had been so long since they'd won anything. Yeah. So, yeah, to me, it makes me chuckle having Manchester United fans be upset. But, we might not qualify for the Champions League. We probably still will, but we might not. Oh, no, you might only be the 4th best team in the league at the moment. Woe is you.
To be honest, mate, when you say it like that, it puts a lot of my complaints into perspective. You love it, don't you? You're absolutely loving this.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
No, well, I guess we'll move on the move on from the football side before I start getting more upset at you ribbing me. So I mean, we've spoke to the likes of Zealand, Ben, Fox in the Box on this channel, and we've had a little inkling of their life before making any sort of Football Manager video. For Ben and Zealand, it's a bit harder to gauge that because they sort of went in early and have able to sort of make their way through it. But you're a bit of an exception to that rule because you had some good life experience before stumbling
I'm old,
across
is what
it.
he's saying. Yeah,
basically,
I'm older
than
them.
If you remember Maverick Bars, and you are, but what? Give me sort of the time scale. Give me like the timeline of what Kev did when he left school.
Right, let's we'll do the quick version. I'll try and do the 60-second version of my life. So I left school at 18. I was going to go to university. I was accepted into London School of Economics, but I took a year out. During that year out, I got somebody pregnant. We ended up married. We ended up living together with a child. We then ended up with another child. While all this was going on, I was working in a building society and putting myself through my financial advisor qualifications so I could pay the bills. I then became a financial advisor, which then led me to work into a bank right at the height of the banking boom, followed by the banking crisis. But the banking boom was great. I got to drive a sports car. I got to have meeting. We had a monthly meeting in Barcelona just because we could. They flew us to Barcelona for a meeting. When you hear about industries being in a bubble, my word, was that a bubble. Banking in the mid-2000s was insane, and I was very lucky to be a part of it. But then it all fell apart, and it fell apart just as I decided to go self-employed as a financial advisor and leave working for the bank. So I've given up my nice, steady income that I had at the time to go self-employed at a thing that now basically didn't exist. I was trying to sell mortgages at a time when nobody could buy houses. So I ended up working in a call center, selling car insurance and hating it. And did it for about 6 months. Walked in one day and just had an argument with the boss and quit and went home with no plan. Which is a bit of a theme for me, quitting with no plan. And that was Boxing Day, I think, or it might have been Christmas Eve. It was over Christmas, and I just had enough, and I just walked out and sat at home for a few months. Luckily, because I'd been involved in banking, it wasn't like super urgent for me to go and get another job immediately. I had money to get me through for a little while. And I decided that everything I possibly wanted to do, I needed a degree to do. And I'd never actually gone to uni. I deferred for a year, but then didn't go because we had our kid and then we had another one. So I decided it was time to go back to university. But because I now had young children, it wasn't a case of I could go anywhere. I basically could only go to the university near my house. So rather than doing what normal people do and deciding what subject they wanted to do and applying for different universities, I just applied to one university and picked 6 different courses and just accepted that the first one that accepted me, I went and did. So I ended up doing a computer science degree, which I did for 3 years, during which time I got divorced. Both me and my ex-wife started university at the same time. Yeah. And by the end of the second year, I think it was, we were divorced. I think we just opened our eyes to the fact that there were options and things, and we didn't have to, we weren't tied into this thing that because we were teenagers, all that kind of stuff. So I left by the time I was coming to the end of university, because I was divorced. This is longer than 60 seconds. I apologize.
Go.
Because I was divorced at that point, but had 2 young kids. I had joint custody of them. I wanted to have a job that allowed me to continue to have joint custody of my kids. The obvious thing was becoming a teacher, because teachers have the same school holidays as kids. So I went and did a teacher training course for a year, which, because I was in a specialist subject of computer science, I got a nice little bursary to do. So I got paid to go and learn to be a teacher, which was really cool. And that brings us up to 2013 when I became a teacher. Because I'm a nerd and I like to excel at things, I advanced pretty quickly as a teacher. And by 2017, I was head of faculty in my school. Everything was chugging along nicely. But I'd also had this YouTube thing that had been ticking away for a couple of years at that point. I started YouTube in 2015 as a hobby, because working full time as a teacher with a young family, obviously not enough. By this point as well, I'd met Anna. She's moved in with her son as well. So there's been a whole new family unit formed while all this is going on. And YouTube had been bubbling along and growing in the background. And we kind of got to the point in early 2017 where Anna's son, Andy, he's autistic and he'd been refusing to go to school for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Anna doesn't drive. And we'd kind of reached the point where, for our own sanity, we needed to get him back into school. And it was pretty clear the only way we were going to do that was if I was at home to allow that to happen. So once again, for the second time in my relatively short working life, I quit my job without a plan, as a head of faculty, and like, again, reasonably well paid. Went in there at the end of February half term and just resigned with no job to go on to. With this kind of harebrained scheme that I would use YouTube and Twitch to somehow find a way to figure out how to pay the bills. I resigned in February, knowing that from September, that's when I would have left. So I was working through to the end of that school year, and basically gave myself 6 months to figure out how to make a full-time living doing this. September 2017, my first month self-employed, I made about £250 in YouTube ad revenue, and was kind of at that point thinking, well, again, we've got a little bit of money set aside. We're going to be okay getting through till Christmas. And then I can just start a new teaching job in January. By then, Andy will be back at school. All will be fine. And then the launch to FM18 happened. We did the first Creators Cup down at Sports Interactive. I think that was the year that me, Loki, and Golden FM all did a Liverpool save for the beta. So we all kind of grew off of each other. The Creators Cup grew over here. I did a couple of collabs with people like Ben and Jack as part of the Creators Cup, and basically the channel just went poof, over the course of the launch of FM18. Also around that time, my Twitch just went absolutely nuts. My laptop that I was using at the time actually melted, and my Twitch chat were just like, well, you're not going to stop streaming, we'll buy you another one. And in 2 streams, they donated like $2,000 to buy me a new computer. And I was like, wow, that's insane. So I bought a new computer, but then they carried on with that kind of level of generosity. And for like the next 6 months or so, while I was really finding my feet, we'd have a little Twitch target every month of, it was literally a little countdown chart of how much I was earning as a teacher. Can we get me to that? And I basically survived on Twitch donations for about 6 months while the YouTube channels grew enough. And then because I've got the vlog channel and the FM channel, they both kind of popped off at the same time. And by the time January came around, we were like, well, I don't actually need to go back to work right now. Maybe we can push this back until Easter. And then at Easter, we pushed it back until summer. And the next summer, we pushed it back a year. And it was probably only the summer of, where would that be? 2019. So a couple of years ago, that I kind of admitted to myself that I'm not on hiatus from teaching anymore. I'm not planning to go back. This is what I do now. And for the last 2 years, it's just been kind of all in on this. And it's continuing to grow and grow and grow, which is awesome. But I don't recommend anyone does things the way I did it. There's 2 examples there of me just quitting a job with no plan. And luckily, because I'm annoying, things kind of working out. But I fully acknowledge that in both of those situations, we could have been left with a big problem, big problem if things hadn't worked out the way I hoped. And again, got to make sure that before anyone's there writing their resignation letter, I was very fortunate to have had a couple of well-paying careers before this. So I always had a little bit of a cushion to fall back on. I wasn't giving up my job, and if I didn't make enough money the next month, I can't pay the rent kind of thing. There was always, okay, this is how long I've got. And if it's not working by then I have to go back. And I could get a job as a teacher again tomorrow. I'm a computer science teacher. There's not many of them around. You know, I could apply for jobs now and be starting them in January easily. So it's not as if there was ever any fear of me not being able to walk back into a job. So it's a big combination of luck and timing and just following my ridiculous harebrained schemes.
No, for sure. I mean, I think you're selling yourself a bit short when you say annoying. I think that persistence is a good thing, and it's probably why you're sort of at the top of your game and doing better. Like the numbers you're pulling through at the beginning of this cycle, you know, for Me included, to be honest. What a format of video that people think you've got Ben, you, and Jack doing, and it's sort of there. That audience is already there. It's not really going to grow anymore. You've just completely proved everybody wrong, to be honest. And I think that's probably reflective of that sort of persistence.
I think, and I think it's not the first time we've proved people wrong on that as well. Yeah. I think for especially the three of us that you've mentioned who've been very focused on the longer Let's Play story-based stuff. I think we've all been hearing for a number of years that the market for that is only so big. There's no room for new people to get into it. There's no room for you to carry on growing in it. Well, this time last year, I was over the moon that I was averaging 15,000 views an episode by episode 10 of Non-League to Legend.
Yeah.
This year, I'm averaging like 35, 40,000 views an episode. I mean, I didn't know that it could grow that much in a year, but it has. And it's not just me that it's happened to. If you look at Jack's videos, if you look at Ben's videos, we're all doing 30,000 plus views an episode at the moment.
Yeah.
And I know that's not going to continue, but it's a much higher starting point than we were on last year or the year before or the year before that. And every year it gets bigger and bigger. So I think anyone who's not giving it a try because they feel like there's not room in the market needs to just look at someone like Tom FM, who is doing a similar thing, started a few years after us, and he's experiencing incredible growth as well. And he's just a little bit further down on the curve because he started like 3 years later. But he's proving that you can establish yourself in that area if you're good at it. And there are more viewers out there than I think any of us realized. And because that's the other thing, when we're streaming, it's really clear from the streams that me, Jack, and Ben aren't sharing the same 30,000 people. No. That's the really insane thing. There's different audiences across. So and then you've got Zealand's mob. There's over 100,000 people regularly consuming Football Manager content.
I think that's what you guys do well, though, because you're, like, for me, someone who doesn't have anything YouTubey other than this right now, like, I'll see the people who are in my stream and other people's streams, and they'll have their favorites. If we stream at the same time, then maybe they'll be in mine, maybe they won't, and that can impact it. But for you guys, you've got that established core from YouTube, and that established core from YouTube, there's a big number of them who are only on Twitch to see you. And I think Zealand is the best example of that.
Zealand's cracked it, yeah. If you look at Zealand's Sully Gnome over the last 2 years, it is remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. He's gone from getting like 10 or 20 people average watching him 2 years ago to the point where when I was first approached about the first Streamer Showdown, I looked through the names on the list. I was like, who the hell is this Zealand guy? I genuinely had never heard of him. No idea who he was. To the point where now he'll get 2,000 people watching him stream just on a Tuesday afternoon. Oh, it's Tuesday. Let's have 2,000 people watching Zealand play Football Manager. It's absolutely mind-boggling, but it's exactly like you say. He's cracked this formula of being really good at clickbait titles on YouTube, so that every YouTube video he drops gets 50,000, 100,000 views. It's a science, because at the start of every YouTube video, it's, by the way, this is what I'm doing on Twitch. Come along and watch the Twitch. Or these days, it's that you've got the YouTube live channel and all that stuff as well. And so every 3-4 times a week, he's advertising his Twitch channel to 100,000 people. Is it any wonder he's got 2,000 people coming to watch him on a regular basis? He has got this amazing funnel pointing people towards his Twitch. And every now and again, I sit and talk to someone like you about it and explain it like that. And I think, why the hell am I not ever mentioning my Twitch on YouTube? What the hell? I understand how he's doing it. Why am I not doing it? I think I've mentioned my Twitch twice on YouTube since FM22's been out. What am I doing?
Nah, I think, well, that's the thing, because he's getting that funnel in. Those guys are only there for him. They might join for the raid, but they're not sticking around. And you know for a fact, if you're live or Zealand's live, you know where they're going to go. I've had
to move my stream slot. Me and Ben I've had a bit of back and forth about this in the last week because I have traditionally streamed in the evening for years, like 5-6 years. But Zealand's in my time slot now, and there's just no point in me streaming at 7 p.m. UK time because I'll get 200 people watching because 2,000 was in Zealand. So I've moved into Ben's slot in the afternoon where I can get 600 or 700 people watching. And he's like, "Well, what's all this? What are you doing in my slot?" Well, you want me to move? You tell him to move. I'm going. You know, as much as you're the big dog, Ben, you ain't as much of a problem as Zealand is anymore. So I'll go against you.
Nah, it's one of them. I didn't see your name on this time slot, boss.
Yeah, exactly. Shouldn't have got ill, should you?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. You've been ill. You've been ill recently, and it did make me wonder: are you and Ben closer than you care to admit? With you both having a similar sort of illness at the same time.
I think it's just that we're the dads of the community. So because we've both got kids, this bug is going around every school and nursery in the country. So it's less so me and Ben going out there and getting infected. It's our kids are out there in the wild. And it's just one of those things as a parent, you get everything. And I don't know, there aren't that many other dads knocking around in the community, at least not the more established bigger guys. They're all young whippersnappers. So, I think it's probably more that like Jack just is insulated in his little Football Manager bunker where the only time the door gets opened is when his Uber Eats arrives. And that's it. He doesn't see sunlight. So there's no chance of Jack getting ill.
I respect that, actually. Or unless his kitchen's being redone, which I enjoyed that. I enjoyed looking at those tweets every day.
So did I, because my Barcelona series was going on at the time. I've had some perfect timing this year. That's off YouTube when I'm doing Barcelona and I clean up. Then the beta hits and suddenly Ben's not streaming in the afternoons. Well, I'll have me a bit of this then. That everything's lining up for me at the moment. All I need now is for Zealand's computer to break, accidentally fall out of his apartment window. And I suppose I'll do some tutorials this week then, and then I'm sorted.
Nah, fair enough. I think you got a bit of scheming to do then, if that's the case. But
if anyone is in New York and wants to steal Zealand's computer, get in touch with me. We will probably sort something out.
Are we talking monetary? Because
potentially, yeah.
I'll see what I can do, mate. I think I know someone who's in New York right now. I might just drop them a message. So if you hear this really loud American dude, just steal his computer for me. I did want to ask though, what came first for you? Was it YouTube or Twitch?
They were almost exactly the same time. I kind of dabbled with YouTube a little bit years ago because ever the visionary, when I was at university, we, me and Sheepdog, my partner in crime, who I've done lots of collaborative stuff with over the years. We've written books together, we've done podcasts together, but we kind of had this plan for a thing and we didn't really know what the thing was. It was a thing called Best Thing From, where we were just going to travel around every county in the country and find the best thing from that place and then create content around it. Ross Noble stole the idea a year later and made it into a Dave's TV series. Thanks, Ross. Thanks, Ross. But exactly. We sat there at the time thinking, right, where shall we put this? What's it going to be? Is it going to be a blog? Is it going to be a book? Is it going to be a TV show? Is it going to be a podcast? Is it going to be a YouTube series? And because I am a visionary, I said, podcasts are the way. So we dabbled with a little bit of everything. There is a YouTube video of us from like 10, 12 years ago of us trying to find the Melton Mowbray pork pie shop, which does still exist. I think it's got about 5,000 views as well, because it's about the only video anyone's ever filmed in Melton Mowbray. But we kind of decided at that point that, forget YouTube. There's never going to be any money in that. This was before the partner scheme and stuff had set up on YouTube. We figured there's more potential for growth and more potential for advertisers to be interested in podcasts. We were thinking we could potentially syndicate to the radio, all that kind of stuff, which we did little bits of, but we did it as a podcast. And we did that until we inevitably ran out of money about 6 counties in. And then it kind of turned into our gaming podcast that we've been doing ever since, the Mature Gamer Podcast. So I've kind of been in podcasting for a long time. I've done lots of writing, and I dabbled in the early days of various bits and pieces off the back of that, but never really took video content seriously until I just decided to start doing YouTube in 2015. And at that point, I think I started my YouTube channel on something like the 15th of October, 2015, and released my first video and pretty much have been daily since then. Give or take a few days here and there. And then probably a week later, I did my first Twitch stream, which was a 24-hour Twitch stream. Just straight off the bat,
Jesus Christ,
I'm just doing 24 hours. Let's see what this is like. Let's do it for a day. And there's, I didn't know what a mod was or anything. I'd never watched anything on Twitch. I knew nothing. 2 of my current mods are from that first stream where they just turned up and explained to me what a mod was and told me I needed them. I said, well, you can be them then. And they're still on my mod team now. But yeah, I went daily on YouTube straight away and did a 24-hour Twitch stream straight away. And I've been pretty much doing both ever since. I've had times away from Twitch. I had about a couple of years in where I streamed on YouTube for a year rather than Twitch, because I've always had my issues with Twitch. I still have my issues with Twitch. I don't anticipate I'll still be a Twitch streamer in 2 or 3 years' time. I think I'll probably be on. I think like a lot of people, I think I'll probably be streaming on YouTube once they get it working properly.
Yeah.
But I tried it a few years ago and ended up back on Twitch because it's where everyone else was, and you kind of had to be there.
Yeah.
And there was a 6-month period where I wasn't allowed to Twitch stream because it was when I was still working as a teacher, and one of my students donated. And I immediately refunded them, went into school the next day and said, look, just so you're aware, this is what's happened. A student's donated. I've given them the money back. Just wanted you to be aware because of child protection, all that kind of stuff. And it just escalated and escalated and escalated to the point where the governors wanted to fire me for taking money off of a student. And we basically got to an agreement where I had to sign a thing agreeing never to Twitch stream again. Which, I mean, I'd handed in my notice shortly afterwards. It was one of the things that pushed me over the edge. But while I was serving out my notice, I couldn't stream at all. So my last day of teaching, I literally finished the day, went out for my leaving drinks and stuff, and then went live on Twitch straight away. It's like, well, I'm back, everybody, and I've been on Twitch pretty much since then. So that was 2017, and there's been times when it's been more sporadic than others, but certainly since the pandemic hit, I've been pretty consistent with streaming on Twitch, which is, I mean, we're talking getting on for 2 years now, which is a ridiculous thing to say in itself. That was kind of the thing that spurred me on to, right, I really need a Twitch schedule, because at the start of the pandemic, YouTube ad revenue cut in half.
Yeah.
So I went from being fairly comfortable and confident, knowing what I was going to earn each month and what the shape of my year looked like, to all of a sudden I'm expecting X amount and I'm actually getting half of that. And it's like, oh, well, that's a problem, because I can't afford to live like this. I've been expecting a different amount. So I ended up back on Twitch then. I was quite open about it at the time. I said, look, I'm going to be streaming 5 times a week because I need the money. This is what's happened on YouTube. And because, again, I've talked before about how awesome my community are. They paid for my PC way back when, and they paid me through the pandemic as well, and got me up to like 600, 700, 800 subscribers for 6 months or so, which are numbers I've never gone anywhere near before or since. And I don't expect to ever again, because they're ridiculous numbers for someone who, ultimately, my long-term average is probably about 300 viewers on Twitch. So to be streaming to 300 people and have nearly 3 times that subbed is ridiculous. But they absolutely sorted me out through the pandemic. And I kind of feel like off the back of that, I now owe them by sticking around. And even though I don't necessarily need Twitch anymore, other than for the fact that it qualifies me for the Streamer Showdown, which I wouldn't want to miss out on that. But the only things keeping me on Twitch now are the Streamer Showdown and the fact that I feel like I owe the people who helped me out during a tough time, because Twitch for me is such a small part of my income compared to YouTube. I talked to some of the other guys who are more Twitch focused, like Ben in Zealand, and it's fascinating how different our income breakdowns are, because they get so much more through from Twitch in comparison to YouTube to what I do. For me, it's very much like an 80-20 split towards YouTube, because I'm very much a YouTube guy who does a bit of streaming, whereas they're more streamers who also do YouTube, I guess. I don't know that's how they consider themselves. So for me, Twitch, I always describe Twitch streaming as the hobby now. My job is making the videos. The hobby is streaming and just having a laugh with the regulars who've been in there for on and off the best part of the last 6 years or so.
Fair enough. It's all right that you have a hobby that also can turn into
It's
20% of your
nice.
income. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Most of the time, hobbies are expensive, so it's nice to see it.
Oh, it's
Go
still
the other
pretty
way around.
expensive, but it does have some benefits to it as well.
As long
Yeah,
as long as
I have far too many cameras around my house.
Yeah, I guess they come in handy with all the YouTube stuff though. That's interesting though. Because I mean, I guess you do have 2 YouTube channels over 100K, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not quite a similar situation to what it would be with those. But then again, between the 2 YouTube channels, the Football Manager channel, I mean, I did this is what I earned this year video at the start of the year, which had a proper breakdown on there. I think at the time, the Football Manager channel had earned about 3 times as much as the vlog channel over the course of the year. I would suggest for 2021, when I do that video, it will be closer to 10 times as much as the vlog channel.
Jeez.
It's the vlog channel has, because I've done fewer vlog. Every year I do less and less vlog content, but the Football Manager channel has grown exponentially in the last 18 months as well. So it's one of the, I've got myself back into another one of those scary situations I was in kind of at the start of the pandemic, where a lot of my eggs are in the same basket again. If something happens to YouTube ad revenue, or if Football Manager decide not to make a game next year, then I have a problem, because so much of my income now is relying on Football Manager YouTube videos that I need to rebalance again. And that's another reason to really push the Twitch. It's one of the reasons I'm still on Twitch and haven't made the leap back to YouTube for streaming yet, because it's scary to have just the one source of income when things go wrong.
Yeah, and I guess that's something a lot of people won't have to consider, obviously, being self-employed. But you'll, like, people who are self-employed, usually they'll have, in a general worldwide sense, you'll potentially have multiple sort of customers, multiple contracts in order to go. But you kind of have one contract if you're looking at it from Football Manager's the contract.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, my situation is a little bit different to a lot of the other guys, because I'm the sole income provider for a family of 5.
Yeah.
So it's not that I've just got to make sure I can pay my own bills. Anna's not working. She's Andy's full-time carer, so she's not bringing in any income.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 kids, and they're getting to the point where they're getting expensive. You know, my oldest daughter's just passed her driving test and just got her first car, and is talking about getting a house with her boyfriend. She turns 20 in January, and it's like, all of this stuff is so expensive. And then Andy's 17, Amy's 15, and it's like, well, they've all got the next step on the horizon, whether it's they're going to be asking for help with house deposits or cars or going to university or whatever it is. Kids get more and more expensive the older they get. It's ridiculous.
You know what? I'm 23. I've got a lot of younger siblings though, and it was great when you could just get them anything and they'd be made up at, like, 1 or less than a year old. And now they actually want shit. Like,
oh yeah. My youngest is like, what do you want for Christmas? I'd like an iPhone 13 Pro Max, please. Oh, not just an iPhone then. You want the big, expensive one. I see. Right, let's see what Santa can do then. I'm 15, Dad. Just buy me the phone. All right, come on.
I mean, what are the odds of her getting the phone?
Probably fairly good, because she's
got the benefit.
Yeah, but she's got the benefits of the divorced parent situation. It's kids of divorce. They get these kind of things, because it's either you're trying to one up each other or you collaborate on a Christmas present. So I think this is going to be a situation where we kind of go halvesies on it, and it's like, well, this is a joint present from your mum and your dad, so you better look after it. She thinks she's playing us. She thinks she's going to play one of us off against the other. She doesn't realise we're talking behind her back. And right, well, if you think you're playing us, we're playing you right back, and that's going to be a joint present. So if you think you're getting a phone from one of us and an iPad from the other, or whatever nonsense you've got in your mind, you got another thing coming. You're getting. We're smarter than you. We were kids once. We're not that old. You might be benefiting from divorced parents, but you've also got young parents, and we know what you're up to.
No, I did. I was, that was a lot of because my parents didn't separate until I was, like, moved out. But when when I was younger, like all of the kids who sort of had the divorced parent situation, they all had a PS3 and an Xbox, and I was
Exactly.
fucking sharing mine with 3 other people. I was like,
Exactly.
when like obviously when the dust sort of settled, I was like, you could have done this a few years ago. You know, secured me a little thing or two, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess we'll move on before I get myself in trouble. You mentioned earlier, obviously, the streaming helps you keep you in the streamer showdown conversation. To be honest, even if you stop streaming, I don't think they could realistically get rid after you've won it.
The rules are the rules. I mean, I've talked a little bit about this on my streams recently because I was offered the Facebook money, and I turned it down. And one of the reasons I turned it down is because it would have meant I couldn't be in the showdown because I'm not streaming Football Manager on Twitch anymore. Okay. So
interesting.
It is, you know, if I stop streaming Football Manager on Twitch, I can't be in the showdown. We are strict about that rule. It is only for Football Manager streamers. You have to be streaming Football Manager to get into the streamer showdown. So yeah, and not only just streaming, you have to be streaming it on Twitch because it's a Twitch thing. Okay. So yeah, I wouldn't want to give that up. That's fun. That's opened the doors to having these conversations and relationships with some of the other guys who I was doing this for a long time before I had any kind of contact with anyone else who was also doing this, because I'm the old man. And because I think I've got a bit of a reputation for, because I'm a little bit older, I take it a little bit more seriously. And I think it can come across as Kev's a money-grabbing scumbag, I think, is one of the general opinions that you get in parts of the community of, I'm only in it for the money, all I care about is the views, and rah, 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 rah. I hear these things, I pick up on these things. And the Streamer Showdown, as well as some of the stuff that Sports Interactive have put on over the last few years, they've been the opportunities for me to actually have conversations with these people away from the camera where they can realize it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
I'm just... You know, I'm 39. This is my job, and I'm supporting my family. And I'm not a 23-year-old who is still figuring things out. And you know, it doesn't really matter if this doesn't work out.
Yeah.
If this doesn't work out, I gave up my teaching career to do this. I don't have a pension at the moment because I'm doing this. You know, it's not just enough for me to. I'm not just looking to earn enough to pay the bills now. I'm looking to. Well, I gave up a teacher's pension. Teacher's pensions are the kings of pensions. Yeah. I gave up my teacher's pension. So I not only need to make enough money now, I need to be making enough money to make that into a good decision. And I'm very conscious of the fact that I don't know what my shelf life is as a creator, because although I started a little bit later than the first generation of creators, age-wise, I'm right on the edge of most of the older creators are about my age, and we're kind of aging together, and we don't know at what point creators stop being relevant and stop getting views. There's never been someone who's gone through their 40s, 50s, 60s doing this, and we don't know if it can be done. Yeah. So I'm kind of constantly thinking, well, at any point that door can just slam shut. Because as much as my existing audience will stay with me because they're aging with me, I don't know at what point the 16-year-old who's on there on FM 27 launch day looking for a video to watch, and they see this old wrinkly guy with a grey beard. Do they want to see Santa playing Football Manager? You know, is there going to be a point where it's like, I am too old for them to care and for them to even try it out? And I don't know when that point will come. So I'm not only trying to earn enough money for now, replace my teacher's pension, I'm also trying to earn as much money as I can as quickly as I can, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing it for. Yeah. Because I have to look at it realistically and think, I can't imagine still doing this when I'm 50 years old. Yeah. Because not only will I probably be irrelevant by then, but you have to work damn hard to do this as a full-time thing. And there's going to be a point where I physically can't do it anymore. This is a lot of 12, 14, 16-hour days, a lot of 7-day weeks. And am I going to be able to do it long term? Will my health hold out? Will I still want to be doing that when I'm that age? So I'm kind of very much enjoying the ride while it's happening, but also fully aware at this point, as I approach my 40th birthday, that this is my peak. This is as good as it's ever going to get for me. I am earning my money now, and the rest of my life is going to be formed over how the next few years go. So I've got to make the right decisions now. And because of that, I think people view me differently to the happy-go-lucky 20-something who, it doesn't matter if this series doesn't really work out. I'm just having fun. I'm experimenting things. It matters to me if a series doesn't work out, because if I do a series that bombs now, that could be meaning I have to work an extra 4 years before I can retire. It's that kind of thing. So yeah, I think because of that age difference I have with a lot of the creators, I do sometimes rub them up the wrong way, because I am quite business focused and straight to the point of I want to maximize everything. But I don't even know what the question was now. I went off on one. That was one of my pre-prepared speeches.
I was talking about the Streamer Showdown, but we caveated.
I remember that. That's that thing I win all the time. I remember that. Yeah, that's easy.
Well, I think it was spread across the the Twitch, sort of keeping that up in order to get that. But I mean, yeah, I guess it's different for you, because you brought up your health holding up. It's not like you're getting sick pay like anyone else would. If you're gonna have to rely.
I was driven into hospital by Nerdphonic back in May because I was having heart palpitations, and I am still under investigations for a potential heart problem. I've had scans. I'm on like 6 different medications every day. I'm on blood thinners and all sorts of things, because they don't know if there's a problem with my heart. But what they do know is I have been told to slow down. I have been told to stop drinking as much coffee as I do. I'm down to like 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day now from probably 8 or 9. I'm not allowed to drink fizzy pop anymore. I've got to exercise. I've got to sort my health out. But they have said to me, I've got to change my lifestyle. I can't be working 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, long term. Yeah. I shouldn't be doing it now. And that's one of the reasons why I have I am looking at ways to find a better work-life balance. So that's one of the reasons. It wasn't just jumping into Ben's slot. Moving my streams into the afternoon means most of the time I have my evenings free now, which I haven't had for 10 years, because even before YouTube, I was writing in the evenings. Me and Sheepdog wrote a sitcom together that never got picked up by anyone. We wrote books together. We've recorded no end of podcasts together. I have been hustling in my evening spare time for as long as I can remember, trying to do something for myself. So I only really know busting my balls constantly. And I've basically been told I'm not allowed to do it anymore. So I've got to find a way to take weekends off. I've got to find a way to take as many evenings off as I can. So I'm dropping down to 1 YouTube video a day. I'm not really vlogging very much anymore. Vlogging is a special treat that I do when I feel like vlogging, rather than it being a commitment that I have now. Streaming is something that I'm now fitting into my 9 to 5, and it's all. But because of reducing the output, it then means there's even more focus on maximizing the output that I am doing. So getting those brand deals in, getting the 2-game affiliate sponsorship thing in, that's all over Twitter for weeks. But it pays a lot of money. I mean, if people knew, and I can't say, it's contractually not allowed to say how much I've earned from it, but if people knew how much I was earning from that, they would not question why I was banging that drum as hard as I am, because it has been probably in the last month my single biggest source of income.
Okay.
So more than what I've been earning on YouTube even.
That's insane, man.
So it's an important thing.
Yeah, and I to be honest, I don't know how you can blame people for looking at it from a business mentality, because I would exactly the same. Like when I talk about wasted possession, we're not earning shit right now, right? We're very new, but when I'm talking about it, I'm not talking about it as this draft tournament. I'm talking about wasted possession as a product. How can we improve that product in that mentality? And I think that's the sort of correct way to go about it, because then you separate the sort of emotional attachment from the logical one. And it looks
the problem with thinking like that is, I completely agree with you. That is, if you're approaching this as a business thing, it's absolutely the right way to approach it. But I think the problem, particularly in the Football Manager community, is because it's been so long established, and it was around for so long before anyone found a way to monetize it. You've got this closed off old guard mentality of, well, I've been blogging for the last 15 years about Football Manager. I've been modding the forums for the last 20 years on Football Manager. I've been making databases or uploading tactics. People have been creating content around FM for as long as FM has been a thing.
I mean, we've had Buster Net on this, and he was telling me about when he started.
Yeah, absolutely. People have been doing it for a long, long, long time, and then all of a sudden, this bunch of loud idiots appear over the course of 5 or 6 years. We're all mouthy, we're all arrogant, we all clickbait, we're all doing our mouths open thumbnails and exclamation marks and capital letters in our titles, and we're all getting rich off of it, and it's the wrong way, you should be doing it for the love. And what they don't realize is we were doing it for the love. The money doesn't come straight away. No, I've been creating content online for 10 years before I made a penny from it. I had this YouTube channel for a year and a half before I made a penny from it. I was blogging a save on the SI forums on FM08. I've been around this community for a long, long time. And when I started making YouTube videos, it wasn't with a plan to be a full-time YouTuber. No. It just became obvious fairly early on that, holy hell, there's people actually watching this. Maybe I can. And then we kind of one after the other started to drift towards being full-time at it. I think we're at the point now where there's, I don't even know, 10? Maybe not 10. Between 5 and 10 full-time Football Manager content creators, which is insane, really.
Yeah, I mean, you've had Luke recently start to make the transition. Fox in the Box, who could have carried on if he'd wanted to.
Yeah.
He when he was on this, he said it wasn't the financials. There's obviously you. I don't know how Work the Space went so long without doing it full time, because he's a mission. He must be part cyborg.
Like I said, he doesn't see daylight. He doesn't go outside. So he was going to work and then coming home and doing his second full-time job. I mean, for my last 6 months teaching, you don't sleep a lot. I don't understand how Clates is doing the workload he's doing at the moment, because he's working full-time as a teacher and doing daily Facebook videos and streaming on Twitch and producing 2 or 3 YouTube videos a week. I genuinely don't understand how he's doing it. And he's making all my thumbnails for me, and he's making Ben's thumbnails for him. Where the hell is that man? He must be a terrible teacher, because he must just be sat there editing videos when he's supposed to be teaching. I don't understand it.
Just gets the kids read from the textbooks and turns off the whiteboards.
Yeah, or maybe he just doesn't sleep. I don't know, but it's not sustainable long term. I've said it to him. You won't be able to keep this up long term. Yeah. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision, whether it's a just work decision or a drop some of this content type decision. There comes a point, and this is why you often see the cycle that a Football Manager content creator goes on, where they trundle along not doing very much for a little while, then they start to trend up and start to get some traction, and they reach a point where they either explode and go full time or give up, and you don't really hear from them again.
Yeah.
You very rarely get someone who just kind of bobs along with a good amount of subscribers, probably could go full time but aren't really, because it's really hard to motivate yourself to do it when you know you're not giving it your all anymore.
Yeah,
I think I would really struggle with it. So it's why you get examples of people who were some of the big players 3-4 years ago who not so much anymore, because for whatever reason they decided to stop doing it.
Yeah, and even in my time around, probably I'd say around a year since I was really introduced to it. There's guys I can think of who I thought they were going to be sort of the next one. I was like, some of them I was thinking will be on showdowns, and then you don't really see them. And I guess I think a lot of it is the mental aspect. When you get a dip in views, I don't know how it is for you, because obviously when you have a dip in views, I'm not sure how noticeable it would be, in terms of you're still probably going to have a relatively active chat, whereas for guys on the other end of the spectrum, you fucking know when no one's there, because there's jack shit being said. How do you handle that?
I mean, for Twitch, the easy way for me to handle it is to just stream less. It's I'm lucky that I've obviously got the YouTube on the other side of it. If Twitch was all I was doing, that's not really a helpful solution. Although I would almost say use those times when no one's watching to do something else creative that helps feed the Twitch channel when the people are there.
Yeah.
So it almost maybe take the summer off, because that's usually when people are dipping. Take the summer off from Twitch and use the summer building up a catalogue of YouTube content. Then when the new game comes out and everyone's watching your Twitch, you've now got some YouTube to refer them to as well, and you start to build your own little community and your own little brand. I certainly don't think there's much benefit in streaming to no one or almost no one. I think there's probably that time could probably be better spent making sure that the next time you stream there are more people there. Whether that's through creating some TikToks. I know Tom's been having a lot of success on TikTok lately. But no one else was really doing it. I know Clates did a bit, but we've just talked about Clates. He doesn't have the time to, I don't know if he's still doing TikTok, but I don't know how he'd fit it in if he is. But there was an opportunity there. Tom's owning Football Manager on TikTok at the moment.
Yeah.
So there's always things that you could be doing to find a way to bring more people into your stream, so that the next time there are more people there. But I think the really important thing is if you have your heart set on streaming regardless, you just got to always stream as if there's loads of people there.
Yeah.
And try and be entertaining and tell a story. And obviously you can't interact with the chat if they're not chatting, but you can still treat it like a YouTube video and tell a story with the players. You can still be entertaining, you can still be animated, you can still be the most interesting person streaming to nobody, so that when someone's flicking through and finds you, they're like, okay, this guy's not got a lot of people watching, but he's pretty good. I'm going to hang around and watch this guy. The worst thing I see people doing, and it's such a waste of time, unless you're doing it for fun. If you're doing it for fun, fill your boots. But if you're looking to grow a channel, it's such a waste of time to sit there streaming to nobody or streaming to 2 or 3 mates, not really interacting with anything, slump back in your chair and just not really talking about what's going on and not trying to be entertaining or engaging. So there's nobody there, because why would anyone watch that? No one's going to want to see that. You could use that stream time as practice for your videos that you should be making too, because quite apart from anything else, I don't think it's possible to grow a Twitch channel in isolation. I think you've got to have something feeding that funnel in. We talked about Zealand earlier on, having his YouTube channel constantly feeding his funnel. Zealand was streaming to nobody for a long time, or not nobody, but to really, he had less viewers than me a year and a half, 2 years ago. And now, now I've had to move out of my stream slot because of him. So that shows, and that's not because of his streams. Yeah, his streams are good.
Yeah.
But they haven't grown to the amount of people that they've got because of how good his streams are. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter how good your streams are if nobody can find it. And that's the most annoying thing about Twitch. No one can find you, so you've got to have something else feeding people in. So yeah, if there's nobody there, if your views are down, then do something else to make sure you can drag some people in from somewhere. And you kind of need to work out what you're doing it for. And if you decide that you're not enjoying it and all you really enjoyed was the endorphin hit of having a room full of people, and it's not fun when there's nobody, it's not fun when you're having to put the work in and you're there at the ridiculous hours of the morning. I mean, I was quite open on Twitter about what my beta launch day night was like. I mean, I was at London Comic Con on the Friday, Saturday and Sunday when the beta was released. And I kind of had an inkling they'd be releasing the beta on the Thursday because it looked like the most obvious day. Yeah. I'd called it a month before. I'd said to Sports Interactive, please don't release it on the Thursday because I am going away on the Friday morning. And it dropped at like 7 p.m. on Thursday night. And I was sat there until 4 a.m. on Friday morning, producing 5 YouTube videos to come out over the weekend because it needed doing.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun at 3:30 in the morning, but it needed doing because I knew how important it was to be at the top of the FM22 search over that launch weekend of the beta. Yeah. And my choices were either give up on the weekend, and it wasn't a case of me just going to the Comic-Con for fun. I was speaking at the event. I was on a panel. It's not something I could pull out of. So I had a responsibility to be here, but my business needed me here. So I just didn't sleep that night. And if you're not willing to do that, then you probably need to just accept that maybe you're just doing it for fun, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many people are watching.
100%. And I know, obviously, I've never done anything that mad, but obviously when we have the Wasted Possession drafts on, they're every week for 7 weeks. So I'm working on them, doing the sort of graphics, doing these, editing them. Another graphic, sorry, the data. Stick Piano does the graphics. I sort out the data behind the scenes. And some days I'm finishing work late because it's month end. I work in finance. I'm sure you know what I'm on about. I'm not finishing until 7:30. Then I got all this other shit to do. And then before I know it, I need to go to bed. Otherwise, I'm not going to make my alarm in the morning. And yeah, like, this is at a point where I'm not making any financial gain off any of them. So it is difficult, and I think after doing that, I think it's kind of stood that test. But I think a lot of people just see it as turning on a camera and just playing a game, and expecting it to sort of go that way when it not necessarily is going to.
Yeah, it won't. You won't find anybody who has made a success out of doing this who got there by just turning the camera on and playing the game.
Yeah.
Every person who's made a success of doing this has worked their balls off to get there. They have done the all-nighters. They have done the weeks, the months, the years of not getting paid a penny for it. They have done the questioning their sanity because, I mean, I am getting nowhere with this. What is the point? You know, I nothing is happening. Those, certainly in the early days of my YouTube channel, the first couple of years, those summer months are long. Those summer months where, I mean, I used to, luckily, you know, things have grown and I'm in a more fortunate position now. But those first couple of years of doing this full time, I would explain it to people of the November to just like October, November, December was so crucial because I was earning the money then that I'd be spending in August, because in August I'd only earn 800 quid.
Yeah.
So in order for me, and so I'd be raking the money in November, but you can't spend it in November, so you've got to put it to one side because I know the shape of my year. I know right now I make it probably this quarter for me. I probably make half my annual income this quarter.
So mad.
But it's then spreading it out over the course of the year and not being like, well, hey, let's go to New York.
I couldn't do that, man. If I've got money in the bank, it's getting fucking spent.
Well, there, you know, that's the thing you're going to have to learn if you want to make a thing of it, because yeah, those, like I say, those summers are long. And I mean, I was really lucky this year because my Barcelona series hit so hard that I started in September, but I came off the back of, I finished Non-League to Legend early on FM21. That ended like March time. The 2 series I did off the back of that never really hit. I was working my backside off, doing 2 videos a day every day that were only getting between 5,000 and 8,000 views each. Which he says only. I know that's one of the things that makes me seem wangy. I know, I get it. But for me, that is, I'd gone from averaging 15,000, 20,000 views on Non-League to Legend to that's 1 video a day. So I'm now doing 2 videos a day and still not getting that many views. And then the bigger of those 2 series ended, and it's August, and it's like, well, I'm now doing 1 series that's getting about 4,000 views a day. I am not going to earn enough money this month to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky that, it's part luck and part experience and judgment, because I just knocked that series on the head and started Barcelona. It's like, I'm sorry to have to do this. I've done it only once before in 6 years. I'm sorry I've got to do this, but I've got to end this series early. I cannot afford to carry on making this. Yeah. I think this other idea is going to be popular, so I've got to do this.
Yeah.
And September this year, right at the end of the FM21 cycle, was, both in terms of views and ad revenue, my second biggest month ever since I've been doing YouTube.
Everyone at
the end of the cycle.
That's when you start doing the content if you want to, because people are looking at other things or streaming golf or doing whatever else that they are, because it's the end of the cycle. That's pretty wild.
But I think looking at the analytics now, I think it was the perfect time for it to hit. It was an idea that people were interested in. There was lots of buzz about people talking about doing it on FM22, and I'm like, well, I'll do it on FM21 then. We'll use a custom database. I'll do it right now. And everyone else's series were coming to an end. Anyone who's looking for new content, nobody would be stupid enough to start a new series in September. So it was the only series starting, and it's like, oh, okay,
you broke the game.
That's going into the memory bank for next year.
I'm sure it's going into everybody else's memory bank.
Yeah, I mean, my business plan now is multiple shorter series. I'm not going to do a 200 episode series ever again.
No.
Because as much as that small group of people who watch them enjoy a 200 episode epic, nobody new to the channel is starting on episode 173.
Yeah, even no one's going to start on anything other than sort of, if it's above episode 15, it's a lot of time to commit to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm now thinking Non-League to Legend will be what it is. It's my brand, my thing. That just has to be what it is. But I don't think there'll be another series that goes beyond 30 or 40 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be my limit. Like a 6 to 8 week cycle for a second series here and there, so that I'm constantly throwing new ideas out, and then be brutal with them. If they're not working after 10 episodes, bin them off. I know now where a series should be after 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And if it's not getting anywhere near it, it's not going to recover. You can't rescue a broken series. As soon as it starts to go wrong, it's only going in one direction. There's no turning that curve back up again. As soon as it starts declining, you're just counting down the days till it's done. And then, so aiming for shorter series, I think it's the sensible way forward. And I know it's going to upset some of the people who've been in for the long haul. And that's where Twitch kind of comes in, because I've been able to say to them, well, okay, I'm not doing a really long road to glory on YouTube, but I am going to be streaming 5 afternoons a week now. And I'm going to do a tier 8 road to glory on there. And you can just come along and watch it every day. And that's where you'll get that from. You just have to come over to this other place, and it's all about then diversifying the income streams and all that kind of stuff again. So I think it'll all work out okay. It's just because you don't get a lot of opportunity to explain the thought process of that kind of stuff to people. The immediate response is always, this isn't what I'm used to. I don't like it. This isn't what I was expecting. This isn't what I subscribed for. I don't like it. And people get upset about it. But at the same time, nobody's going to watch me explain it either.
No.
And it's the biggest frustration as a creator. I know why I'm doing things and the reasons make sense.
Yeah.
But most people are never going to hear those reasons, because they'll just get bored hearing me explain it. It's, so if you're still watching this video now, we're friends.
Yeah. We'll clip this. We'll clip this. I'll get Shubham, or aka that Korean man, on Twitch. He helps me big time with this. I'll get him to clip that bit, so we'll be able to get that out there a bit more. But this is I'm gonna bring it away from FM now and move it on to a different subject completely. And it's the main reason I wanted you on this. In terms of who I wanted on, this reason is probably why you were at number 1. So here we go. I'll just let that settle a bit. Let it boost the ego slightly.
He's going to be asking me about my shirts. I know it. It's about the shirts. That's what he wants to know. Kev, where do you get your shirts from? Well, they're from Giacomo, the Fat Man's Clothes Shop. And I mean, they're great. I highly recommend them. And I'm glad you've noticed. It's about time someone asked me about these shirts.
I was going to ask after the stream, so no one else would really know. But no, I am going to bring it on to the topic of autism now. The reason why I was looking forward to this conversation is because I'm sure everyone who's watching here will know about Andy and his story. What people might not know is I have a younger brother. He mods for me every now and then. I say he mods for me. He is also autistic and was born with it. And I think the key difference is between the two is obviously the only sort of disability that Andy has that I know of anyway is sort of the autism side, whereas Quidge, his name's Kasim, or we all call him Quidge, he also has brittle bone disease, so he's wheelchair bound as well. Other than that, it's the sort of same issue. So the first thing that I sort of wanted to ask, and again, if it's a too personal question, let me know and I can get rid. Obviously, Andy is your stepson, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, yeah.
And look, being with Quidge, he's my little brother. I can't get rid of him, right? So I know how hard it can be, and you just have to grit your teeth and try. But when it's not that sort of dynamic, what sort of things go through your head when you're adjusting to living with someone who has autism? Because it is quite a difficult thing to adjust to.
Yeah, I mean the biggest it's a weird one, really, because the biggest thing that the biggest thought process it's led me down is it's living with Andy and getting to know Andy has made me looked into getting a diagnosis for myself, because the more I get used to him and the way get used to him, what a weird way to phrase it. The more, I mean, I've lived with him for 10 years nearly. The more things I recognize about him, the more I recognize it in myself as well. And it's become clear to me over those 10 years or so that I'm also on the autism spectrum. I've not had a formal diagnosis because of all sorts of reasons. The main one being the pandemic kind of got in the way, and then I moved areas, and I was going down the route of getting a diagnosis for myself. I'd been referred to the specialist. My GP agreed, yeah, you're probably on the spectrum. And so I think because I am also on the spectrum, I probably find it easier than a neurotypical person would, because a lot of the accommodations that a neurotypical person would have to make for Andy are things that I've kind of put in place for myself anyway. So I don't know, as an example, Anna's very used to the fact that if we go out anywhere, and until she mentioned this to me, I didn't even realize it was something that other people didn't necessarily do. Like if we go out shopping for the morning and we get back in, Andy will go straight up into his bedroom and take off all his clothes and sit on his Xbox and not talk to anybody for hours and just decompress from the trip. If we go out anywhere, I'll come and sit in here, turn the Xbox on, play FIFA, play Football Manager, whatever it might be. And I do exactly the same thing, and I always have. And it had never even occurred to me that that wasn't normal. That, you know, that because I think I'm lucky that because Anna has her experience of working with Andy, she's more accommodating for me and some of the stuff that I do because of the way I am. Because, I mean, thinking back to, I mentioned before that I was married before, thinking back to some of the reasons that marriage went wrong, a lot of it was because I was autistic but didn't know it. And did these things because to me they just seemed like the right things to do, but to her they made absolutely no sense. And I trying to see it from her point of view. If we've been out, we've had a nice time, and then we come home and I don't want to see her for 3 hours. Don't want to talk. Don't want to interact. Just want to level myself out again, be on my own, do my things that I like to do, and kind of level myself back out again and get back into some kind of, okay, this now feels normal again. I've not got the loud music, the weird smells, the bright lights, all this stuff that causes the sensory overload and stuff when I'm out and about. So I think for every difficulty that parenting Andy presents, whether it's school refusal or his really limited diet that he works with, or I mean, we've gone through goodness knows how many TVs over the years when they've been smashed in meltdowns. I'm probably one of the best untrained MMA fighters in the world because my ground and pound, no pound, my ground, my grappling, that's probably a better way to describe it. My grappling is on point from years of having to restrain Andy. So for every difficulty, I get a benefit on the other side of it because it means I don't have to try and explain certain things about myself to Anna. So for me, it just balances out nicely. And it just, this is a much better way of living than trying to be a normal husband in a neurotypical family was, because that just did not work for me. I couldn't do it. I had the idea of having my own weird little room like this with all my toys and collections and things. This was an absolute no-no. I had no place. I ended up putting a computer in the corner of our dining room, and it gradually started getting toys collecting around it. And then the toys would get moved on because you're a grown man. You can't have all these toys in the house, but I like to have my things around me. You know, I've always been a collector. I've got loads, you know, just,
I can see the WWE figurines in the back.
Yeah, I've got, there's all my wrestling figures. I've got wrestlers all up on the wall as well. I've got loads of football shirts, gaming memorabilia, comic books. The cupboard under the stairs is just full of my stuff. Pop vinyls, comic books, video games, albums, you name it. I've probably hoarded it. And yeah, the fact that I can get away with stuff like that, it balances out perfectly. He's very useful. And you know, it does mean that we can sometimes outvote Anna as well when it comes to things that we might want to do. So, like for me and Andy, it's quite a fun day to ride the train down to London and ride the tube around for a bit because we both like to do it.
Yeah.
But she's just like, okay, fine, we'll put up with it then. You pair of, she'll just be like, you pair of nerds, just, and we both want to sit at the front of the DLR so that we can be driving it, and you know, we'll be there side by side filming it on different cameras, and we both love to film everything that we do. So it's something he's always done. It's something I've got years of mobile phone footage from before I was a vlogger. So we both like to film our stuff as well. So me and Andy are really, really similar, even though we're not blood related. We are very, very similar. I just I don't have the learning disability that he has alongside his autism, which is one of his other difficulties. But to me it just works. It's difficult to explain to somebody else because it's not something I would have volunteered for. I mean, I guess I did volunteer for, but you know, when I got divorced, it wasn't a case of what I really want to do now is find a single mum with an autistic kid and get them moved in. It wasn't like a premeditated thing, but when it kind of happened, it was like, yeah, this works. This is right.
Okay, fair enough. Because I mean, this is the thing. I remember you saying earlier on about, you know, the sort of ground without the pound. Because when Quidge was born, his bone density was the same as cheese. So if he's attacking you, mate, you just gotta grit your teeth and take it. And he's a proper little bastard. What he'll do is he'll, like, you know, like on your finger knuckles there, he knows where to dig his nail in to make it hurt the most and stuff like that. But I guess obviously when you first sort of were living with Andy, what sort of things made it difficult to adapt to that routine? Like, I'll give you some examples. Quidge, if it wasn't his idea, it couldn't happen. So he'd wake up in the morning, crawl into the front room because he couldn't walk at that time, see that I'm playing on the Xbox, and then angry crawl to the Xbox, turn it off and start screaming because it wasn't his idea. And then 10 minutes later be like, I think you should play on the Xbox. And I'm like, could have told me before, because I didn't save it, you prick. But, you know, there was sort of that sort of thing. And you know, what was there anything like that was sort of part of Andy's routine that you sort of struggled to adapt to in the early days?
Nothing really sticks out. It's strange because a lot of it just made my life make more sense.
Yeah. Things
like the fact he's always had set meal times. Like, he has his dinner at 5 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
I love the fact we have dinner at 5 o'clock every day. That's brilliant. I didn't have a set meal time before. I love having a set dinner time. That makes my days so much easier to plan. That's great. I don't know why I didn't do it. It makes so much sense. Having a set dinner time is perfect. I mean, there were difficulties, but they weren't necessarily, it was never difficulties in the home. At home, everything's generally always been fine. The difficulty has been trying to adapt the outside world to him. School refusal was always a big thing, even before Anna moved in with me, because she was originally from Nottingham, so they lived over in Nottingham, and I would be over there basically because I had joint custody of my girls. I would have them half the week in Peterborough, and then the half the week that they were with their mum, I'd be in Nottingham with Anna and Andy. And there'd be days when I'd be carrying him to school there. And just generally, school has always been a bit of an issue. But similar sort of thing. If it's not something that he decides he wants to do that day, it's very difficult to change his mind. So that side of things was always quite difficult. But it's stuff we kind of always worked with and kind of figured out as we went. It's one of the reasons why I'm able to do what I do now, because if it hadn't have been for having to get him back into school, I probably wouldn't have made the leap and given up my job when I did. And who knows how things would have turned out if the timing was different. I've said quite a few times, linking it back around to Football Manager sneakily, if I was starting now, I don't think I would make it, because I didn't have the natural talent, the natural ability, or any of the technical skills to be able to do stuff of a high enough quality to compete now. You see people starting now and they already have the DSLR camera and the fancy computer and the fancy lighting behind them, and they're already confident talking on camera. And it's like, Oh my word. I am so glad I started when I did, because it took me years and a lot of money and a lot of practice to get to the point where I am now. And there's no way I would have made it. So the fact that he kind of gave me the push to go and do it was a big bonus. And I mean, I don't hide behind the fact that because of the vlog channel as well, that made it easier to pay the bills in the early days. Certainly, although we've said now that far fewer of that's bad English, a much lower proportion of our income comes from the vlog channel now. There was a time in the early days where some months we'd earn more from the vlog channel than the Football Manager channel, and if we hadn't have had the vlog channel, we wouldn't have made ends meet. And as much as I try not to make him the star of the vlog channel, he absolutely is. If his face is on a thumbnail, then the video gets more views. It's one of the reasons why the vlog channel is slowly kind of, I don't want to say dying, because people get upset about it whenever I try and finish it, but he doesn't want to do it so much anymore. So he's not been in a video since August, I don't think. There might be one or two others that he does before the end of the year, but he doesn't really want to do it anymore because he's 17, and I'm not going to make him do something he doesn't want to do. He used to love it. He doesn't love it so much now. So we're doing less on there. And that's kind of having that channel peter out. But it kind of, the fact that people are interested in his story allowed me to give up work, which allowed me to focus in more on telling his story, which made it possible for me to stay off work. And that whole cycle of Andy almost paying for himself for a couple of years allowed me to get the other side of things up and running, so that now we don't have to do that anymore. So that can kind of, we push that away. That's why I refer to myself as a reformed family vlogger, because I hate family vloggers. They're all scum. And I'm glad I'm not one anymore, because it's just a really scummy thing to do. But at the same time, it allowed us to connect with people we never would have connected with and get help we never would have got. And things like finding respite and getting him switching schools and finding stuff for him to go and do. There's so many doors that got opened for Andy that never would have been opened without that YouTube channel. We went on our first ever holiday as a family of I think it might have just been the three of us. Our first ever holiday with Andy was a brand deal with Premier Inn, where they sent us to Blackpool so Andy could go up the Blackpool Tower and ride the trams there. My Football Manager affiliate deal with 2Game paid for me to take the family to Euro Disney a few years ago. And that was the first time we'd ever taken the five of us abroad. So, so many doors were opened by it that, we had to share a little bit more than I think, looking back, maybe I would have done. Maybe I went a little bit too far sometimes with not really knowing where the line is. I think as easy as it is for me to blame that on my own autism, I think there is a part of that where I don't necessarily know where the line is sometimes because of my lack of social skills. I mean, I know I've sat here and talked to you for an hour and a half, and it seems like I'm a Mr. Conversation. But if we were face to face, if we were sat across from each other in a pub with no camera on, you'd be having a very different conversation with me, because I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. But I can talk into a camera and I can do an interview and I can perform all day long. I know Ben always references how he doesn't like Lollujo, but he likes Kev.
When Omega Luke was on, he said, Kevin Chapman, nicest guy you'll ever meet. Lollujo, arsehole. That's how he claimed it.
Exactly. But the only way I can do this kind of stuff is as Lollujo, because it's the only way I have to put that hat on, be that character, and then I can talk it. Like I said, my first stream was a 24-hour stream. I didn't shut up. I can talk for 24 hours if I wear the Lollujo mask, but it doesn't mean that the other stuff isn't there still. So it's difficult. But again, I don't know what the question was, because I've just talked and gone around in circles. So I'm just going to sit here quietly.
We were talking about obviously adapting to sort of Andy's lifestyle when you come in, and I think you answered that. I guess I'll try and speed it up now, because we are hitting that hour and a half mark. When you obviously, I discovered you not through FM. I discovered you through the vlog channel because of, I think it was going to your dad's house with Andy. I think that was the one. I think it made it onto like Lad Bible or something.
Yeah, Lad Bible. I think at the current count, I've got like 8 million views on a Facebook video of that. Which they never paid us for. Don't work with Lad Bible, everybody.
That's no, mate. Facebook pays well as well. That's scummy. But that was the first thing I saw, and I saw a lot of the comments of saying this guy's showing his disabled son on a camera for views,
yep.
and I was sat there like, as someone who's got a disabled brother, no one really knows how to interact with him. Like, people will talk to him as if he's stupid because he's an intelligent guy. If you were to say to him, you know, you've got £1 and you spend 60p, how much have you got left? He won't be able to answer that. But when it comes to algebraic stuff, he's really good for some reason, and he'll get his message across. He just kind of has his own terminology and his own language, I guess. And the way you handled sort of Andy's responses, speaking to him like he was an actual person and not like he's 4, was refreshing for me. And that's why I thought it was important content to have, in spite of a lot of those comments. What's your take on those sort of comments? Because these are obviously people that are not well versed in that autism field.
No, I completely get where people are coming from with those comments, because it is without knowing the full story, and you just seeing that video in isolation, especially the hyper edited down version that Lad Bible did. I mean, that was originally, I think, a 15-minute video on my channel that Lad Bible turned into a 2-minute video. So you're already not getting any of the context from before, after. You don't know that at that point Andy had been off school for 1.5 years through school refusal. You don't know that literally happened in the middle of me deciding whether or not to quit my job. That was, as a family, that's the closest we got to breaking point with it, because we just didn't know what to do, because we couldn't handle him. You know, we'd been reaching out to social workers. We'd been, you know, I had to almost demand a social worker. I had to phone up social services and say, I don't think we can carry on caring for him properly unless we get some support. He's still, even now, he's registered as a child in need with social services, because it was the only way that we could get the support that we needed at the time. We had to say, if we don't get the support, he's probably gonna have to go into care. We basically had to go there to get the support that we needed. But nobody knows that, seeing that video in isolation. So if you're just watching that video in isolation, especially when you see it's got 8 million views, and like you say, Facebook pay well, you're immediately thinking, well, they've just gone and made however much money by showing their kid in distress on the internet. And that's not what happened at all, because that video was made when that channel had maybe 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
So it wasn't made for money. I'd never made a penny when that video came out. It has made money since, because it's since gone on and got over 1 million views on my channel as well.
Yeah.
But at the time, we had less than 1,000 subscribers. I don't think the channel was even monetized at the time. It was literally, the vlog channel was started as therapy for me and Anna, for me mainly, for me to talk through what was a really difficult time, because I needed a sounding board to bounce my life off of, to try and understand it. And one of the things that I really wanted was to connect with other people who are in the same position as us.
Yeah.
And that video, if you look through the comments on YouTube, there'll be a lot of people calling me an exploitative scumbag, and I still get regular death threats off the back of getting stuff like that. The hate off the back of that is hideous. But at the same time, we've connected with so many people who have helped us, and we in turn have then helped. Because if you consume our channel as a complete work, because I think it is a story now that's almost fully told, as a story of parenting a young person with autism, we've gone from the 11-year-old who's uncontrollable, refusing to go to school, he's violent, and effectively we were afraid of him. We've taken him from that point to he's now a 17-year-old man with a mustache who goes to school every day. He takes regular medication. He's diagnosed with all the correct things that he should have been diagnosed with originally. We understand now that the main source of the problems we were having back then wasn't autism, it was anxiety. And now we're managing the anxiety. Things are so much better, and we don't really have any trouble with him anymore. And there is an outcome where you can go from absolute rock bottom to we're now thinking in terms of, well, what comes next for him? Is he going to go to college? Is he, you know, what happens next? And he's got options. And I think that's such a life affirming story for the people who are now where we were 6 years ago when that video was made, or 5 years, whenever it was, where they're at absolute rock bottom. They don't know where to turn, because I looked at the time to see if there was any content out there, so just to basically see if there was anyone else going through what we were going through, and there wasn't. From what we could tell, we were the worst parents in the world, because nobody else was having these problems. Because yes, obviously people were having the problems, but nobody was talking about it. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody knew what it looked like. Nobody had any experience with it. It was this big taboo thing that you kept hidden behind closed doors. It was your family shame. Ooh, they've got an autistic in there. Keep them behind closed doors and don't tell anyone about it. Don't tell anyone what it's like. Whereas I'd like to think that I have been a part of changing people's perceptions of that kind of things. I've worked very closely with the National Autistic Society. The community that we've raised through Football Manager has raised over £15,000 for the National Autistic Society over the last few years. I've been on BBC TV, radio. I've done talk radio. I've been in multiple national newspapers. I've moderated the first ever neurodiversity panel at Comic-Con. I've spoken about neurodiversity at Summer in the City. I've been back to Comic-Con multiple times talking about neurodiversity. I've been at the Autism show. I've done a lot, as well as making the exploitative video showing the kid in distress, to help people who are in our situation, and not just helping the parents, because that's the other end of the criticism you get from the autistic community themselves, that you're just a parent talking to the other parents. Well, actually, I'm one of you as well, because I, like I say, not formally diagnosed, but I'm fairly comfortable saying that self-diagnosis is just as valid as a formal diagnosis. I know my brain better than anyone else knows my brain. So I would consider myself autistic. So I'm looking at it from both sides. I'm fighting for autistic people, but also trying to help the parents who don't know what to do. I think I had an advantage because my brain works in a similar way to Andy. Even now, Anna will say to me, we went to a Remembrance Sunday service at the local church yesterday, and we were walking there, and at one point Andy said, cross the road. And Anna's like, why? Cross the road. And he just insisted on crossing the road. He crossed the road. And she was like, well, why do you want to cross the road? And he wouldn't tell her. And I just said, because there's a tree in the way. Because he's filming it, and from across the other side of the road, he gets a better angle on the church and can get it in his frame properly. I could see why he wanted to cross the road, because my brain works the same way as his. Hers doesn't. She had no idea what was going on. So I have an advantage when it comes to working with Andy, because a lot of the time I'll get what's upsetting him, or I'll get what he wants, or, you know, if we're in a shopping center where the lights are really, really humming, I'll notice it too, and it will get to me too, and I'll get him out of there before it's caused a meltdown. Whereas a neurotypical parent won't know that there's a problem until it's too late and the problem has already happened. So yeah, I get that there are people who don't think that kind of stuff should be shared, but you know what? I think a lot of that is because they've got outdated attitudes where they feel like it's something to be ashamed of. And I think it's just, I mean, the slogan that we've put on our t-shirts that we've done many times over the years, different is not broken. Being autistic isn't a disability. It's just it's a difference. It's neurodiversity. It's not a neurological disability. It's just a different way of the brain working. And I think the reason I've been as successful as I am multiple times over in multiple careers is because of my autistic brain working the way that it does, because I just become absolutely hyper-focused and obsessed on something until I'm the best at it. And I won't stop until I am. And it allows me to work until 4:30 in the morning because I have to. Going to sleep's not an option because I've got to get this done first, and I can do it. And it's a superpower. And people aren't going to like it. And you know what? Those people probably don't really want them on my channel, because I think we've helped so many people.
Yeah. Well, you're saying parent a lot, but like from my perspective, I'm an older sibling, and like when I was 15, 14, and you know, I wanted to put something on the TV. He's playing on his Nintendo DS, but fucking baby TV has to be on as well.
Yeah.
And you change the channel, it's screaming. And I've been there, you know, like I said earlier, I'm just trying to play on my Xbox. He's come in, seen that it's on, dashed, turned it off, screamed, and I'm getting in shit. And like after that, when you grow up, you feel like a piece of shit for getting pissed off at him and thinking, what a dickhead. But then you don't see human responses to that, and you feel wrong for having a human response to that.
You just got to be normalized.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when, I mean, a lot of the stories all relate back to churches because it's one of Andy's special interests. He loves churches. Yeah. But there was a time where he wanted to go and see a church. We couldn't get in. The door was locked. There was no one there to let us in. And he had a massive meltdown, took off all his clothes, and I had to carry him across a church car park, completely naked, next to a main road, while he's trying to bite me, kick and scream. And you better believe that once we finally got him bundled into the car, I'm not there all like, oh, that was so much fun. I'm glad we got to do that. I'm furious that I've just been bitten and kicked. And it's important to show you actually having a human reaction to something that's going on. But because it's equally important to not feel any shame about that reaction. It's a natural reaction, but you have to learn to compartmentalize it. And right, that's my reaction. That's not his fault. That's how I've reacted. So I've got to have my reaction, own it, deal with it, and then refocus back in on, but at the same time, there's something happening to him and he's having a worse time than I am. And it's that kind of stuff that people don't share because they're embarrassed. And I think that is far worse than me exploiting him by putting a video on the internet. The fact that you're embarrassed of your kid or your family member, whoever it might be, that is so much worse than me showing what it's really like. Stop being embarrassed.
Yeah, you got to own it. But I mean, you're on the topic of the sort of Andy having the sort of public meltdowns, and I think this, as weird as it might sound, is where Quidge has benefited to some degree. I mean, being physically disabled, there's not many benefits, right? But the fact that he looks disabled means when he's having a meltdown in public, people are like, oh, poor guy, rather than, I'd imagine sometimes you've probably been accused of being a shit parent, or Andy's been
all
accused
the time.
of being a spoiled brat. Like, how... And that's another reason why these videos are important. But how do you sort of handle that confrontation? Because that's something I don't have to experience, because Quidge is clearly in a wheelchair.
Yeah. It's difficult because sometimes people just don't want to hear it. We had an incident in the O2 a couple of years ago now, where, because he likes to film everything, he had his little video camera and he was walking around the O2 just filming the digital advertising displays because he loves them. That's literally all he was doing, just filming the digital adverts. And a security guard came up to us and said, you can't do that. You're not allowed to film in here. And we were like, well, he's just doing it because, I mean, it's just for his use. It's fine. My camera's away in my bag. He's just filming in here because he wants to film in here. And we had a bit of a argument with him. Eventually they let us move on. And then we got a bit further around and we got stopped again. And they insisted that he put the camera away. So, he threw it off the balcony, took off all his clothes, tried to throw himself down the stairs. And it just... and then they're like, oh, sorry, is there anything we can do? No, there's not now. You've done enough now because you've made this happen. If you'd have listened to me when I explained what was going on, then we'd have been fine. But now you've caused this. We've gone past the point of no return. And he's just got to get this out of his system now. So he's there naked halfway down the stairs in the O2 for 20 minutes until we could get him into the bathroom, where he spent another hour. And then we eventually managed to get him back to the Airbnb we were staying in. And then I had to get him a GoPro because he'd smashed his camera throwing it off the balcony. You know, and that's why more awareness needs to be raised. It should be enough for me to say to the security guard, he's autistic. It is for his own use only. There are people in here with mobile phones that are taking pictures and selfies and things. It's only the fact it's a camera that means you've got a problem. It should be enough for me to just quickly explain it to them, but it's not, because they don't understand. And then they think they can fix it by taking it back. And it doesn't work like that, because the damage is done then. Once that camera is thrown and smashed, and once he's gone over the edge, he's no longer in control. That meltdown has to run its course. That is not him anymore. That is, the meltdown has taken over, and he is completely out of control. And like I said before, he's having a worse time than anyone else involved is, because it is a horrific thing to experience. And yeah, we just need to keep raising that awareness. And I think the world is better for that now than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's still so much work that needs to be done.
Yeah. And it's a vicious circle because, you know, you get shit for putting these videos on. No one sees these videos. No one knows what it is.
Exactly.
Security guards ignorant to the fact. Whether it's their fault or not is another debate, but they don't know. And so then it just someone's got to give. And I don't understand why people can't see that.
Exactly. And you also get the people who are like, they don't want it on YouTube, but they don't mind it being on a documentary on the BBC. And, you know, I would counter that with the fact that I was putting it on YouTube meant that I could be his full-time carer for years and be there to look after him, because I was able to earn money doing that. And that allowed me to be there and be a better dad. Is it better that we make that money and we use that money to take him to Disneyland and take him to Blackpool? And, you know, the fact now that if he smashes his camera, I can buy him a new one. The fact that he's got everything he could ever want now. The internet wasn't working, so we got fiber to the home. You know, he smashed his TV. We bought another one. Some people would say he's spoiled, but it's more he's got everything he needs to live his life the way he needs to live his life. And that we're only in that position because we were able to make those videos. So would they prefer the BBC made that money and we just struggled along with me working as a teacher and Anna not able to get him to school, and he smashed his iPod and can't have a new one because we can't afford to get the screen replaced? And, you know, it doesn't make any sense. What is the harm in him benefiting from the videos, which is exactly what has happened? He has benefited more than anybody. His bedroom at our old house was smaller than this little cupboard office that I'm in. Whereas his bedroom now, he's got this massive room where he can have his TV and everything in there. He's got his chair that he can sit in. He's got his bed. He's got his own bathroom. His life has leveled up massively off the back of what we've been able to do because of making YouTube videos. Not just about him, but obviously the Football Manager stuff has helped as well. But the fact we're now able to provide more for him, he's really benefited from those videos as well. And, you know, he watches them. He's always communicated when he doesn't want to be filmed. One of the first things he's ever done when we started vlogging, he learnt to say no. And if he says no, that clip doesn't go in. You don't see him saying no in videos, because if he says no in a clip, we don't use the clip. And that's why we're not making as many videos now. But yeah, people will always moan, and there's no explaining it to them because some people just decide that it's wrong. But I'm not making the videos for those people. I'm making the videos for all the other people who they've helped. And there are genuinely at this point tens of thousands of people that those videos have helped, and 100%. That feels good.
And more power to you for that, man. I have to admit, I think we played it a bit cleverer with Quidge. We got him hooked on old style Nokia phones and Nintendo DSs. So when he breaks one of them, it's a bit cheaper.
Oh God, we've got so many Nintendo DSs. There must be 10 of them in the house, to the point where if he misbehaves and we take his devices off of him, if he refuses school now, he has his devices taken off him, and he'll be up in his room and he'll be really quiet. We're like, what is going on? Why is he so quiet? We'll walk in and he's got a DS that we haven't seen for years. And I genuinely think he's got DSs hidden around the house, like emergency backup DSs, for when we take all this stuff off him. He's like, I don't care. Once you're gone, I know exactly what I'm doing. And he just gets another DS out. He's got so many.
It got to a point with Quidge where we went through that many DSs. Rather than buying more, we were taking parts of them all and just putting them together to make a functioning one. It was, oh man, it is like nice reflecting on that sort of thing. And I appreciate being so open with it, mate. I know some of the questions may have been like, I think they were on that sort of border, but I think it was important for people to know.
I mean, ultimately, I've not said anything I've not already said on my own channel. You know, I've very much been an open book from the very beginning of all of this, whether it's been talking about family stuff, talking about the money side of things. You know, anyone who's watched my channel knows exactly how much money I've earned from doing this. They know everything they could possibly want to know about our family. We've tried to do a little bit more privacy in recent years. Like, we now don't tell people where we live. We keep that private now. My eldest daughter, because of her work, can't be in the videos anymore. So she's not. And we've removed some of the older videos that she was quite prominent in. But yeah, we've shared a lot over the years. And I haven't said anything here that I've not said before.
Fair enough. Either way, man, it's a personal subject, isn't it? And I appreciate it. Well, I mean, we've run over a little bit rather than what I aimed for. That's no complaints with me, and I appreciate. I forgot to ask you how much time you had at the beginning, so I am quite glad that we
were limited only by my voice, which is you'll have noticed the muting and the coughing a little bit more as we've gone in, as the voice is slowly starting to give up on me. So if there's no YouTube content, no streams for a day or two, this guy's fault, everybody. He did it. It was all him for making me talk this long.
I guess if you want your Kev fix, you're gonna have to watch this. All 50,000 of you watching the current series, but I guess this sort of last sort of thing is what's next for Kevin Chapman and what's next for Lollujo.
Well, I mean, they are two different people, as we've established. I mean, the vlog channel, if we count that as Kevin Chapman. We are going to be doing Vlogmas this year. So if you do like the vlog content, you are at least going to get to see us open advent calendars in a few weeks. So got to cash in on that Christmas ad revenue. So the Vlogmas will be happening. So there'll be some content on that channel finally, as Football Manager quietens down a little bit. But on the FM side of things, it's just all systems go. Non-League to Legend is going really well. So that will continue for the foreseeable. The network save has just started on Twitch with Ben and Jack and Zealand, which we're going to be doing every Thursday. Highlights of that are going to be making it onto the YouTube channel as well. I am going to be doing a long-term Twitch save just as soon as there's a reliable tier 10 database available. And by reliable, I mean one that's had a good few weeks of being out in the community and everyone's had their moans and it's been fixed, because I really admire the work that the FM editor team do. I've been on the Patreon of them for a couple of years now. Yeah. I've used their databases for a long time, but there's no way the first version of that database is going to be the working one that I want to use. It just never is. So it needs to get out there and everyone find the little problems with it. And probably by the time we hit middle of December, I think I'll probably be ready to start a long-term Twitch save. And then, of course, we've got the Streamer Showdown coming back anytime now as well. So lots and lots of stuff going on. All very, very exciting. And yeah, it's momentum. It feels like the momentum at the moment is really, really strong, not just with my channel, but with the Football Manager community as a whole. I think we're all leveling up to a point we didn't necessarily know was possible. The Showdown has a large part of that. The collaboration stuff that's going on at all levels has a huge part in that as well. It's something that's been missing for a long time, and we're now doing, and it is making a difference. All ships float in a rising tide. I've been saying it for years, and we're proving it now. And I am really excited for this versus mode that's coming out next year, because if it's as good as it could, if it's as good as it should be, if they do what they should be doing with that, that has the potential to be an absolute game changer. And what they should be doing, and I have no inside information, what they should be doing is dedicated servers and ranked online play. If they bring that out, then game changer.
None of this
absolute
Epic
game
Games,
changer.
None of this Epic Games bullshit. We had to delay our Group D in the wasted possession draft because of it. And me and Ben had a chat about it on Twitter. I'm sure some people saw, but yeah, no, I mean, it's gonna be exciting, man. Especially from our perspective as someone with a big finger in the drafting pie. Shame you're not able to come on. I know we touched that briefly earlier.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, I'd record my podcast on Friday nights, so that's something of a problem. I've been doing that for 10 years, so unless that ends, Friday nights are always going to be a little bit of a problem for me.
Yeah,
but I feel like I might be making some appearances and some stuff outside of the Showdown this year if I get asked.
Oh, I mean, I've already let a couple know that,
mainly because I need to sort Curty out and his absolute poppycock. What? And I also need to talk to Sai about how the hell do these draft rankings work? What kind of nonsense draft ranking system is it where I'm not number one? Are you serious?
The one where McKinn's beats you, mate. He's not that good.
Beat me once. in a tournament that I wasn't even trying in because it was the last one of the year.
Oh,
Ultimately, the fact I've won 6 showdowns should have me top of that thing. I tell you where the problem is. They've taken all of those friendlies on the Saturday into account when no one's trying. You take all that nonsense out and just do it on knockout matches that matter. Number one.
It's not how it's not
you know, I am the undisputed lineal Football Manager champion, and I won't have anybody tell me otherwise.
Listen, man. I mean, I'm in the next playoffs by winning the one that's just gone, which I'm still pissed off about Dupe calling me Chibuddy G on fucking Twitter. He shared it and said congrats Chibuddy G. I was like, oh, I'll take it. But yeah, man, I mean, if you can come along to that, it'll be quite fun to play against you. And obviously, you know, win one of those, you'll get invites to the others, which, you know, by what you've said, should be an easy task for you.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's only fair. I love my wrestling, and like I said to Curtie, it's fun to see what everyone's getting up to down on the indies, and I am. I'll do my tour of the indies. If Ben gives me my 90-day notice, I'll do my tour of the indies and then come back and be main eventing again when I'm done, just to prove to everybody that I can do it all.
I don't think I'm still not over Bray Wyatt, man. I'm still not over his release. And it was over 3 months ago now. His 90 days are up. We could talk about wrestling all day as well, but I guess it sets it up nice for a second appearance at some point in the future. But I mean, it's been lovely, Kev. It's been absolutely lovely having you on. I appreciate you making the time as well.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And even B&L coming on.
I know. I mean, that's the commitment. See, I've got this reputation. It's so unfounded. I'm a lovely man, everybody. I'm a lovely man. You really should invite me on to things.
Oh, yeah. And you will receive, you know, the check within the next couple of days for the appearance here today.
Oh, they pay quicker than the Stream the Showdown as well. Brilliant. Excellent. I'll let Ben know there's someone actually paying in a timely manner. Amazing.
Nah, don't tell Ben. He'll be pissed that we didn't pay him. But I appreciate it, Kevin. That'll be all from us. Please remember, do like, comment, and subscribe. I'm sure everybody knows who Lollujo is, but if you
how many views did Ben's interview get, by the way? I need to make sure we do better than that.
It's nearing the 400 mark as we speak.
Right. Well, we'll get at least 1,000 then. That's what we did on Diz's one. I think we absolutely blew Ben out of the water. So that's going to be the instruction everyone gets on my Discord. Watch this interview.
I'm looking forward to it, mate. But yeah, it's been absolutely lovely. We will be back. I don't have any other guests lined up, so I need to drop in some DMs. But yeah,
no following me. That's what that is. no one's brave enough to follow me. Who's got the balls to step up and follow Kev?
I reckon we could get someone. I'll let you know who it is. But that'll do for now. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.